Alright, so we're finally at the last place and one of the most well known cultures, Native American culture. This is going to be short and sweet since the other cultures and locations were much more informative. And I think that you probably have a gist of where you want to live by now, so this is just one of the last places I'm showing you. So I'm sure that you're familiar with the location and terrain, but I'll just tell you for the sake of it. So this lovely place is called North America. It's a beautiful continent, and different tribal groups reside all throughout this continent. Depending on your type of climate or culture, like the ones you prefer, you can settle in any one of these areas. And let me tell you, the Native Americans are very, very efficient. Like, they manage to use everything to the fullest. For example, I heard stories about how they use certain animals, like a bull or a buffalo, and they use its skin and then its insides and every single part of the animal to do something for out of it. They don't waste much. So the natives usually like to group together in their various locations. For example, the Inuits, they lived up north in the Arctic region. The Midwest region had the Lakota, or otherwise known as Sioux Indians, and the Southwest had the Apache or Pueblo Indians. The eastern area had the Cherokee, Algonquins, and this is just a start of the list of the places and types of cultures there are. You can find different types of Indians all throughout the continent, and each of them are so different from each other, but at the same time, some parts of their culture interact so closely that it's just hard to tell what the difference is at points. As for the landscape, the southwest has desert cliffs, while the eastern coast has luscious greenery and forests, and the north is colder. So, as I tell you more about this, you'll just notice that each separate culture places very huge emphasis on nature and their surrounding natural environment. All of their stories incorporate a part of the environment, whether it's an animal or like plants or trees, but they just are very unique in what they choose in their stories and believe in. All right, so let's get into some of the people that you might meet while you're there. Some Native Americans uh, are known as shamans, and these shamans hold a special bond to animals. So, shamans are basically like healer priests who serve as intermediaries between humans and the spirit world. The shaman must call upon a guardian spirit through fasting and prayer in order to find solutions to answers to problems or questions or something that their tribe faces. And the spirit normally just appears in the shaman's vision in a form of an animal, bird, or one of the natural elements. And as a side note, if you watch the movie Avatar by James Cameron, the one with the blue people, you'll notice that they also have someone in their group called a shaman who does exactly the same thing. The shaman connects with them with the spiritual side of nature and the higher above. As for the animals, the coyote is one of the most important creatures in the culture. He's a very versatile animal, in my opinion, since his roles in most of the myths and stories I've heard are very different. For example, he's known as a creator in one myth, and then also a trickster, a lover, sorcerer, or even just a hero at times. His stories were so diverse, and his character was basically became like a role model for warrior children. So, in one of the myths, which I found very entertaining, it's about how he actually managed to save human children from being eaten out of existence. So, one time, there used to be like a child eating giant that roamed the land. One day, the coyote found out and he decided to teach the giant a lesson. He met a fairly dull minded giant and told him to help him build a sweat bath that said he would make like the giant as fast as him and give him speed. So, in the steam bath, Coyote told the giant that he would break his leg and then heal it again in an attempt to prove this miracle. So then he pretended to break his leg again, and showed the giant a bare deer leg. So the coyote didn't actually break his leg, but he used a deer leg too because the giant was very dull. He didn't really understand, but he believed his magic apparently. So the coyote then used some magic chant to heal the leg. The giant believed this and then allowed Coyote to break his actual leg, like the giant's leg. The giant was in unbearable pain, and Coyote then advised him to spit on his leg repeatedly. Of course, this pain became too unbearable for the giant, and the coyote just left silently. The giant was left there in agony, and the children were saved from being eaten. So it's a fun little story that apparently just teaches that giants should find another food source. All right, next up is the Great Spirit. So the natives don't have a single creation story, but basically, in summary, most of them have a supreme deity that they refer to as the Great Spirit. Many myths say that this god created Father Sky and Mother Earth, who then in turn created everything else on the planet. So the Great Spirit has an indirect role in creating the entire world, but this role basically created just so much from his small act of creating Father Sky and Mother Earth. The Great Spirit is a very, very common aspect among most of the tribes. However, they all give him a different name. For example, the Algonquians call him Chichi Manito, and then the Lakota go with Wakan Tanka. Alright, next up is Sedna. Senna is a sea spirit that is most worshipped up north within the Inuits. She's just very important to their culture because she has so much control over the animals that live in the sea and the animals that the humans actually eat. She has a lot of power, and some people even fear her, but out of respect, not of like genuine anger or being scared. But she controls their food supply and has a major, major role in their lives. So she's just very important to them. Um, However, she was known to be a bit sensitive, since she might send them foul weather or worsen their luck in hunting if they do some bad actions. I found her origin story very interesting since she came from a basic background. So it starts as her being a young girl. Her father forced her to marry a dog, and even though the marriage didn't go bad, it went pretty well. The father decided to drown her husband, the dog. One day, an ugly man appeared who was really just a bird in disguise, and he takes the girl to be his wife. The father tries to take his daughter back, but the bird ends up catching up with them. He starts the storm, and the terrified father basically tries to throw his daughter to the bird. However, the girl grabs hold of the boat's side, trying not to drown. Well, the father was very ruthless, and he just chopped off the girl's fingers at her knuckles and basically sent her to the sea. Like, she sunk all the way down. Her chopped fingers gave birth to all the major creatures of the sea, and at the bottom of the ocean, the girl became the sea spirit. Due to her father's evil actions, he is now known as a tormentor of humans who acts against the rule of life. And in this image, you can see Senna, and basically, this is her after form, in which her feet aren't actually feet now, it's like a mermaid tail. Next up, another creature that you should be wary of is the rabbit. Although it's very cute, it's known as a major trickster in the southeastern part of the North America. It resembles the common theme of trickster, actually. And all across America, most tricksters just play crafty jokes, which in turn comes back to haunt them. And these tricksters serve important roles in society by either benefiting them, like the story of the fox and the giant, which he saved the children, or they can create morals about the importance of boundaries and what not to do. Okay, lastly, I'm going to end it with important figures in Navajo stories. They're supposed to be known as the holy people. They predated humans and consisted of spirits. I feel like they will be the best described through the story of how game animals were released into the wild. So one day, all the game animals just mysteriously disappeared. The holy people all gathered into a sweat lodge where the animals could have gone and discussed where the animals could have gone and how to bring them back. Well, during the meeting, a mysterious black figure, and before he left, two of the holy people noticed and put on a crow's coat. They suspected the mysterious crow might have been involved, so they hatched a plan to follow him. And one of the holy people turned him into a puppy and waited for the crow to carry him away. Well, the plan worked pretty well because the crow carried Puppy to the home of the black god, Grim Hill. Black God also happened to be one of the game animals, one that all the game animals belonged to. Puppy went up to the gatekeeper, Porcupine, and knocked him out. So Porcupine was holding to open the gate and venture inside, where you could see all the game animals. Well, Puppy realized then that Crow must have been the disguised Black God the entire time. Seeing the gate open, all the game animals just rushed out as fast as they could. And as the first four deer came running through the gate, Puppy gave them the ability to create odors by touching them between their legs. So when the other animals came out, Puppy gave them a sense of smell by touching their noses. Thus, some animals can sense approaching dangers before even seeing them. And that's basically how the sense of the deer came to be. So overall, I'm sure that you can notice some commonalities between most of these stories. Like many of them involve animals and teach morals and lessons about how something came to be. This is very similar to African culture, if you can remember that one, where they just use a story to teach a lesson and just say how something happened or why something happens right now. And also, if you noticed, most of these stories I said, they have something in common. They all mention sweat lounges and steam rooms, basically, as well as, like, I think it is a way they use to cleanse themselves, and it was very big in their stories, so that's something to notice. And now that we're at the end, please let me know which of these areas that you would like to live in. I'm sure that between all of these diverse places, you can find something that interests you the most. And I hope you thoroughly enjoyed all of these videos since I couldn't exactly come show you right now these locations in person. So these videos are just an intro to what you'll be seeing if you choose a place to live. Let me know soon and we can get you located somewhere you love. Thank you so much and um, let me know what you choose.